another minute. Got neighbors on, and I think all the participants all the panelists are here. Just got a signal from our command staff to wait about 2 minutes. Somebody having construction done at their house? Commissioner Browning, you probably should mute your phone maybe for a minute. Good evening, Ms. Burks.
Good evening.
Let's see if we can get started. Okay, we are live, and I think we are ready to get started. My name is Natalie Archibong. I am the Atlanta City Council representative for Council District 5, and I want to thank not only the neighbors that are on the call, but the panelists from the city of Atlanta. This virtual town hall is being done in the midst of a pandemic, as we all know, and it's been over 6 months since we've been able to meet in person at City Hall and to have real engagement through our neighborhood meetings, involved in this virtual space. And it is my sense from listening to many of the constituents that there's a need to really connect and to really be able to connect with their departments and understand your challenges. You can hear their challenges. I have gotten a number of questions in advance, and I was able to submit them to each of the departments that are participating. And so I thank the neighbors for the advanced questions, and to the departments, thank you for your diligence in making sure that you are providing a response. I'm going to run through the list of who we have in terms of departments, not their names. I'll let each department introduce themselves and their team if they have team members with them. But we have the Atlanta Police Department, we have the Department of Public Works, we have ATL DOT, we have the Department of Watershed Management, we have Planning, and we have Parks. You were all selected because you touch in such critical ways the citizens that live in our community. The idea tonight is to allow each of the departments to have roughly 10 minutes. If you don't need all that time, we can use the rest for maybe additional Q&A that may come up in the chat to give an overview of what's been happening with your department and then to respond to the questions that you have been presented. I'm probably going to go in the order that I just read, so if you can be queued up, and I will simply announce the department, and whoever represents that department can simply start speaking. I wanted to spend a couple of minutes, though, talking to the constituents. This is, after all, the District 5 Town Hall meeting, so I'm going to take just a few minutes for some updates on what's happening around our district. I wanted to start by thanking the neighbors and the neighborhood leaders who have worked so hard to make sure that we continuously had community meetings, and that has been a challenge, and it was a show of commitment to being engaged, and it was something that was heartwarming, and it has been so continuous, and there's been a lot of new neighbors who've been able to participate because of the ability to be at home or on the run, and check in and be a part of the meeting. And it was so encouraging to me that I'm honored that my colleagues agree with me to have the Department of Planning look at ways that we can continue to have some component of virtual meetings going forward. The increased participation is something that cannot be ignored, and I think it's something that we can build on. So I wanted to start by thanking the neighbors for that. Also, I've had a lot of questions about affordability in housing. And I'm pleased to announce that on Monday, the council will be considering legislation that will move $4.666 million into a fund that will be administered by the Downtown Development Authority, which is a component part of Invest Atlanta. And the idea being that that money would be leveraged against other money that will be obtained from hopefully nonprofits and other entities that are interested in supporting our legacy families that have been so hard hit with the impacts of gentrification. The dollars will be a grant, not a loan, and it will be used to offset the cost of the rising property taxes. We are modeling this a bit after the West Side Future Fund, where they were able to generate millions of dollars to help the legacy families there. This will be a citywide initiative, and our legislation on Monday will call upon the Invest Atlanta Board to develop a proposal for how to implement this money. That proposal then becomes a plan that gets approved by council, and then they will start administering those dollars. It won't be effective for this tax year, but we are looking forward to having a robust program that will help families going forward. So as more information is available about that, I will certainly share it. Another hot topic that we're dealing with involves the short-term rentals. We have competing legislation in the hopper. The latest version, it will also be sent out to the NPUs, is asking us to consider taxation and regulation of this industry by virtue of registering owners who are operating short-term rentals and then establishing a taxation based upon that housing opportunity. Nothing is etched in stone. We are considering it. It is going to be circulated to the NPUs. We're looking forward to having community feedback. I immediately sent that legislation out to all the neighborhood leaders and NPU chairs to have them pass it out so that we can, in fact, get really good feedback and input from those who are using it or currently provide temporary housing in that way. I think it's in our affordable housing toolbox, but I am just interested in hearing from the community and hoping that we will move in the right direction with that. My last comment before we get to the meat and potatoes, which is hearing from our departments, is to talk about Neighbor in Need. That is a organization or multiple organizations that are operating across District 5 that are started off in East Lake, and they have branched out, and other communities have gotten their own version, and some have completely adopted the version from East Lake. But the Neighbor in Need initiative is 100% volunteer driven, and they help deserving families, mainly seniors, with home repairs. And during the COVID crisis, they have been so amazing in providing food and services to those who are shut in and unable to get around due to pre-existing conditions. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to our neighbors in need, and I wanted to encourage anyone on this virtual webinar who is not aware of them to look them up in your community. They are an awesome asset, and they're always in search of support. I know the East Lake Neighbor in Need is looking for $20,000 to end year 2020. It'd be a great cause to support, so I welcome all of you who are interested in looking into Neighbor in Need and looking for a good organization to support before 2020 ends. Please consider supporting Neighbor in Need. That is the end of the preliminary comments that I wanted to make, and so without further ado, I'm going to allow the first department up, would be APD. And one other thing, neighbors, if you do have some burning questions, you can put it in the chat, and if time permits, we will allow for some of those to be answered, and we will have this meeting recorded, and that's important because of the power outages that are happening all across the city. I'm so grateful that we have not had any more severe damage than we know of, no loss of life within the city limits, or at least in District 5. And our hearts go out to all those folks who have been impacted by this tropical storm. But this meeting is going to be recorded, and so there will be a way to push it out to those who were unable to attend due to technical difficulties. So I guess those are my preliminary comments. And so without further ado, let's start with APD. Now, see, we have Major Reese, our zone commander. Yes, sir. Zone 6.
Good evening, council member. I appreciate you. I didn't know if Chief Coy, if you want to say anything before I go, or Chief Murphy, just let me know.
Yeah, I couldn't see everybody. So, yeah, let's go and, hey, you know what? Let's go in command order.
Good evening, council member. And good evening, everyone else. With me this evening, I have Major Reese and also Deputy Chief Murphy. As everyone knows, Major Reese is Zone Commander for Zone 6, and Deputy Chief Murphy is the Chief over our Field Operations Division. So she not only controls or is responsible for the Zone 6 space, she's responsible for all of the 6 zones in the city, and she also has our Apex team, which is our tactical street unit. I'll start out by speaking on a couple of topics. I'm going to try and keep it short because I'm sure we will have some questions. The past several months, as everyone knows, has been extremely challenging for law enforcement nationwide, not just in Atlanta or the metro area. With the protests that came out, that increased violent crime. And because our resources had to be allocated to the protests, sometimes peaceful, sometimes not, we were not able to patrol the streets or enforce the laws and city ordinances like we normally would. But with the protests dying down quite a bit, we have seen that our officers have been able to get back to their duties, and they are more engaged. Morale is picking back up, so we have seen some good dividends paying forth for what the efforts we've been putting out. Also, one of the questions that was put towards us was the issues that's happening on Edgewood. I know Major Reese and Chief Murphy have been speaking with a lot of the businesses and the citizens of the Zone 6 area, and to support Major Reese and his troops, we have put over there our Apex unit, and we have put officers over there from our Special Operations section, and that includes our motor units, sometimes the mounted patrol. We have our high intensity traffic unit, and we also have our auto crimes enforcement unit that come over there to help them enforce the laws. There still are some problems, but the issues have died down quite considerably since the summer months, and we believe that's because of some of the things that we've been able to implement over there. I would offer up, Major Reese, I know he'll nod his head, but we get a lot of citizens that call us daily, if not hourly, and I will continue to implore the citizens of Zone 6 to continue to call us whenever they see this unlawful behavior. When they call, it's important that they give us the tag numbers, a description of the car, a description of the drivers, the occupants that are out on foot trying to block traffic. Give us that information, because a lot of times they'll see the police come whether we have blue lights on or not, and everybody tries to scatter out. But if we have a description of what those people in those cars look like, we're able to arrest them. And with the help of video, if we're not able to get them that night or that day, we can take warrants out for them and go impound their cars and pick them up later. That goes into the next question, street racing. Street racing has not only plagued the Edgewood and Zone 6 area, but it's plagued the entire metro area and also nationwide. That's another problem that's been coming out nationwide. happens predominantly on the weekend, but also daily. Some of those units, again, would be from our special operations section, would be our motor units, high intensity traffic, which is also known as HIT, and also the ACE unit, which is known as the auto crimes unit. We employ or we use the VIC cameras. We also use our license plate readers. So again, even if citizens don't see us make arrests that night, we have investigators and officers that review those videos, and we take out warrants, and we visit people at their jobs and at their houses, and we take them into custody, and we impound their cars. City Court has just reopened, and one of the things that City Court is doing to help us out is those people aren't able to just go in and walk right out the door. They have to go to a judge before they are released. So that we hope that that is going to help us. This is something that just went into play this past weekend, so we really don't have statistics to back up that belief, but we feel like that's going to help us. And lastly, I'll leave out on this note. We realize that Mason and Hardy is a sore spot for us because of the activity that's been going on over there. We do have a touchdown precinct that is opening up. The precinct is rather small, but we're going to be using that to connect with the people over there. We know that we cannot arrest ourselves out of the situation, so that's what we're not trying to do that. We want to build more relationships with the people that stay over there. Also, Major Reese has put a car over there that's basically there 24/7 every single day. We've reached out to other departments within the city to include the Atlanta School Police Department. They are working with us to try and get that problem in line, and also the Department of Public Works has helped us try and clean up some areas over there. So we're open to any and all suggestions. And again, it's not just the Atlanta Police Department. The entire city is trying to work to clean up the Edgewood, Mason Hardy area. So I'm going to close out on that. And if anybody has any questions, myself, Chief Murphy, or Major Reese will be able to answer them for you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Deputy Chief Celeste Murphy, and as Assistant Chief Coit said, I'm over the Field Operations Division, which is all of the precinct department. And, one of the things that I saw that was asked of us was, how can the city transition out of using APD as a main resource to solve critical community issues? So in many ways, we look to do things to kind of use other measures that, especially for our lower level crimes, issues with people that are either homeless, maybe there's some addiction issues, those repetitive things. We're looking for alternative ways, of course, to not create a situation where offenders are getting rearrested over and over again. We're looking for innovative ways to kind of come out of that space. One particular program that we are re-energizing, which was already somewhat used in parts of the Zone 6 space, is our pre-arrest diversion program. So right now, I'm in the process of joining with that entity, and we're trying to make sure that we create a robust training for our officers to be able to use that as a tool to sort of reach out to those offenders that have issues and to integrate them back into, finding housing or whatever type of social service support that they need. So this is one thing that we're actively doing right now that comes to mind, but we're always reaching out through our other divisions on the department, through our COPS division, which is our community-oriented policing division, and those services also, not just reaching out to adults, but also reaching out to some of our youth in the city as well. So Chief Coit hit on a lot of the broad strokes of what the police department is doing now. And so I don't want to steal any of Major Reese's thunder. I know a lot of you all have questions that are more specific to Zone 6. And, if there's anything like Chief Coy said, please just reach out to me. We're all very accessible. And I will leave my information in the chat box if needed. And I'm sure Major Reese probably already has his information out there, but we'll put our information in the chat box if you don't get any questions answered tonight.
Thanks, Chief Murphy. Councilmember Archibald, if it's all right, I'll just take a couple of seconds, minutes probably here. I wanted to start off, Katie Sissel is one of the attendees, and she made a comment there in the chat that I need to get a light ring so that you guys can see my face. So I apologize in advance for my lack of Zoom etiquette, but we try out here in Zone 6, I promise you. But let me touch on just a couple things, some of the other questions that came in. And one of them was, as Chief Coit talked about, our precinct there at Mason and Hardy, and I don't want to just zero in solely on that area, but, we're trying to start there, considering that the epicenter, right, change the behavior, as I've talked about before, and we spread out and have a more robust security plan in the area. So we've done that. I've had conversations with other entities within the department, specifically our COP section and Major Price. And so as we continue to work on what kind of a specific game plan that we'll have for that precinct, it keeps evolving and in a good way. So there'll be other entities that will have access to that precinct, that will be able to come through that precinct, conduct their business in that precinct, have community meetings in that precinct, engage with the community on a face-to-face basis at that precinct. So I think as we start in that type of atmosphere and as it spreads to the community, the acceptable behavior that was previous there will no longer be accepted, obviously, and then the behavioral change will lead to a safer community. So it's all going to surround that epicenter, which I think is a good thing, and it'll spread out. So one of the other questions that came into Councilmember Archibald's office was some discussion about the significant protests that continue at the Planned Parenthood location. So I will admit, from the police department's perspective, it hasn't quite been, our posture hasn't been probably where it needs to be, right? So my commitment to you guys and through the direction and the support of Chief Murphy and Chief Coit is we're going to go ahead and reassess that, and we're going to make the appropriate violation citations if they're warranted, and we're going to affect the appropriate noise levels in that area. So you have my commitment to that. And if you don't see a difference or you continue to have concerns, please email me, call me as you do, and we can continue to have discussions about that. So I wanted to touch base on that. And, I've had a lot of discussions with different attendees. I recognize some of your names, and I continue to be a part of the community meetings. And one of the questions was about, leadership change in Zone 6. I can tell you what my commitment is, and my commitment is to continually engage with the community, the neighborhoods, the different MPUs, and always have some level of a Zone 6 contact at those meetings. I think we've been pretty good since I've been here, and we're going to continue to be good. I'm open to emails, I'm open to phone calls, open to text messages. And what I always say is I'll give you a response. If it may not be the response that you specifically would desire, but I will give you a response, and I'll always be honest with you. And I think as far as if we have that level of communication, I think it will be a benefit all the way around, no matter what the outcome is. So with that, I'll just kind of close out my section unless we have specific questions, if that's all right, Councilmember Archibald.
Yes. Assistant Chief Coit, I see you sent me a response to Katie Kissel's question about the security guard at Amani Place. Is there anything you feel comfortable saying right now?
Well, I'll answer it. Well, I'll give the response that I sent to you. Our homicide unit is still investigating it. They believe that they have some very good leads. However, for fear of hindering or hampering the investigation, we do not want to put out any of that information. If somebody feels like they have some additional information, we implore them to call the homicide office, or they can, if they don't want to be known, they can call Crime Stoppers. which is 404-577-TIPS. That's right now. That's all I feel comfortable in putting out. We don't want to hinder that investigation.
No, sir. And do you have any idea? I think the amount of the... Oh, they're telling me to turn on my video. Hold on. The amount of the Crime Stopper award was $20,000. Is that correct? Or plus $20,000?
I am not sure. I can check on that and give you a response while we're doing the town hall, but I don't have that information readily available.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, and we will move now to the next department. If any other questions pop up toward the end, we will let you know. Let's see. Hang on one second. There was a question about community policing efforts and whether or not there are strategies in place to de-escalate and not involve the police in matters that could be handled in a different way. Could anyone speak to that? You know, I know you have a lot of partnership organizations, and you are working. You've got a SWEET team. You've got a homelessness initiative. I mean, there are a lot of partnerships that the police have. And so if you could kind of speak to that, particularly in this environment where people have, you know, some concerns around over-policing, and getting it just right is everyone's goal. So
I would try and speak on that a little bit. Chief Murphy had touched base on it. We have a pre-arrest diversion unit, or PAD. So as I mentioned, we know that we cannot arrest ourselves out of this situation. So we have our cops unit that comes in, and although they are police, they are a community-oriented policing section. They come in, and again, they try and build up relationships. They try and find other resources. People may not have housing or jobs, so they work with other entities to find housing and find jobs. And as I mentioned also, we have other departments within the city that are aware of some of the issues over here. We have a meeting with all the department heads and the mayor every Thursday, and in those meetings we discuss some of these things. So you will see some other departments coming over in the area to assist the Atlanta Police Department. It will not just be the Atlanta Police Department that you see in this space.
Great. Well, let me just give a shout out. We're going to move to the next department, but I want to give a shout out to the interest in having a PALS unit somewhere on the east side in Atlanta and DeKalb. We don't have one. I think it would be a great benefit when you think about the young people and how the relationships and the mentoring that happens out of a program like that could be so beneficial. So just hint on that. So, all right. And you don't have to react to it right now. You can send me a text and say, yes, ma'am, we will do it soon. Next department would be the Department of Public Works.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman Archibong. Justin Johnson, Deputy Chief Operating Officer, and also currently serving as the interim Commissioner for the Department of Public Works. We have several members of our leadership team on the call today, and I will give them an opportunity to introduce themselves. The first person that we have is Kanika Greenlee, Gayla Dobson, and Rita Branswell. So I'll give them an opportunity to introduce themselves and some of their areas of focus. And what I'll do is just, read the question that was posed to us so that everyone knows what I'm talking about, and we'll sort of go from there. So Kanika.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kanika Greenlee, and I serve as the Executive Director of Keep Atlanta Beautiful Commission, which is housed in the Department of Public Works. And I also serve as the Environmental Programs Director, so we focus on litter prevention. We manage the recycling, education, and outreach programs for the city, and we do beautification projects.
Great. Thank you, Kanika. Next up, we have Gayla Dobson. Gayla?
Good evening. I'm Gayla Dotson. I'm the Program Management Officer for Solid Waste Services. I manage and oversee curbside garbage recycling and yard trimming. Also your special operations, which is your street sweeping, bulk rubbish, grass cutting, and all the other functions that are just curbside.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. And Rita Branswell, I'll give her the opportunity to introduce herself.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rita Branswell. I'm the Administrative Program Manager for the Department of Public Works. I manage the finance, accounting, legislative functions of the department.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So what I'll do, I'll go ahead and jump into the question. So the first question we received is, explain the services that are no longer part of the Department of Public Works and emphasize the exclusive responsibilities of DPW. And so I'll frame the question more so what DPW is left with, and I know Commissioner Rowan is on the call, and I certainly don't want to steal any of his thunder. He'll certainly provide the appropriate context with respect to responsibilities of ATL DOT. But as you all, well, many on the call are familiar with the fact that the transportation function that was once housed in the Department of Public Works is now its own entity to ensure that the appropriate focus is where it needs to be. But what is left within the Department of Public Works is the solid waste operation as well as our fleet services. And our solid waste operation is sort of divided into two buckets, if you will. So you have your regular collections, which is garbage recycling as well as yard trimming collection. And on the other side is our special operations group, which handles like illegal dumping, any type of special calls that may come in, that sort of thing, bulk collection, and a couple of other operational functions within the department. But with that being said, many of those responsibilities that were once in ATL DOT are exclusively with that particular department, and so now the department solely focuses on those particular functions, and there isn't very much overlap except with respect to the Operation Clean Sweep initiative that we are moving forward with. We're very fortunate and blessed to have the great partnership with the department to help us address many of the issues that we've seen in and throughout this COVID environment with respect to cleanliness and beautification in and throughout the city of Atlanta. So I would say that's probably the only overlap at this point in time, but we are certainly exploring what other partnerships we need to have, but also what functions within the Department of Public Works lend themselves to rest more so with the Department of Transportation. So the next question that came up, it says, in Cabbagetown, garbage collection has been inconsistent. How is this being addressed to prevent this from happening in the future? And I will allow Gayla to frame that question and certainly provide some additional context. So, Gayla?
Okay, so I've not received a lot of complaints about the garbage collection in Cabbagetown, so I will definitely look into this and make sure that Fridays that we are servicing you is scheduled for your garbage recycling and your yard trimming. So I'll take a look at that because I know we've had some issues in the past with the bins being left on the curb, and we've come out and walked the community and developed a lot of solutions. So if there's something else that I need to come out and look at, just feel free to let me know, but I'll definitely look into this tomorrow and see what's going on in your neighborhood.
I really appreciate you doing that. I think that's important for the community to know that our focus going forward is really having more of a customer orientation with respect to the services that you all are paying for. But at the end of the day, we also want to make sure that it's a partnership where necessary. And one of the things that we're doing is implementing and enforcing more of our quality control elements within the department to ensure that when you see we have the drive cam in the vehicles, monitoring what are drivers doing while they're in the vehicles, but also we move forward with the implementation of a solution called Samsara, which sort of once geolocation platform, so we know exactly where vehicles are in and throughout the city, but it also has video technology. And one thing that we sometimes run into, sometimes, not all the time, is we'll get calls that, hey, you missed my trash, and I know I'll wave my hand. I've been guilty of it in the past before I got into local government. Hey, you missed my trash, but in reality, I didn't put it out. And before I get in trouble, I make sure I call and say, you missed my trash. But what we've done with Samsara is we're able to show with biotechnology, so, hey, look, here's what the driver is actually seeing when they're out in the field. And it's something that we implemented during my time in a previous community, and we're able to show residents, hey, here's what we see and why your trash was missed. Either it wasn't out or it wasn't close enough to the curb. And we may leave an oops tag or something along those lines to make sure that we're working in partnership and collaboration with respect to trash collection. And so it's something that we're rolling out, and we'll send a video out and show residents what we see, and here's how you can help us out a little bit more. So, but with that said, Gayla, she framed it perfectly. You'll definitely look into any inconsistencies that we see, and sometimes we do make mistakes, and we want to make sure that we correct those mistakes when they happen. The next question, I'll certainly this to Gayla as well, as far as yard trimmings, and the question is, what is the plan for making sure that this service is delivered on a weekly and consistent basis? It would be good to acknowledge that this service becomes critical during fall when leaves are falling, and whoever posed this question is absolutely right. And so, Gayla, I'll give you an opportunity, and I'll sort of layer over the partnership that we have with Ceres with respect to trying to get a handle on some of the yard trimming collection. So, Gayla, you can go ahead.
Yeah, you're definitely right. The leaves are falling, and we've got to get a hold on collecting the yard trimming. There are a number of questions here about did we identify drop-off locations that residents can carry their material in between the service time. And we do have a location at our yard trimming processing yard, which is located at 2175 James Jackson Parkway. So a citizen can take their yard debris there if they like, to show their identification that they are a resident of the city of Atlanta, and we will allow them to leave the yard trimming there for free. We also have the other question was about, okay, it's a drop off, and how many bags of yard trimming is considered that the curb should pick up before it's considered bulk, and that answer would be anything that exceeds 20 bags. 20 bags or more have to be scheduled for bulk collection. If it's 20 or less, the curbside team should pick that up. So we will make sure, I'll come through, like I said, tomorrow we're going to come through your neighborhoods. I know it's your collection day, and just to see what are some of the challenges. I know that the streets are very narrow. We did buy a smaller garbage truck to try to come through there and service it, because we have so much parking in sometimes both sides of the street. So we're going to make sure that we handle that. And definitely make sure that we're putting the yard trimmings out in paper bags and not plastic bags. And if you use a container for your yard trimming, then we would like for you to at least label the container yard trimming so that we would know, and then we can have that dumped as well.
Great, thank you, Gayla. And one thing that I would like for the community to know, for several months, we certainly acknowledged that it was very frustrating for the community, the fact that yard trimmings weren't being picked up on a consistent basis, and quite candidly, it was very frustrating for the department. We were impacted pretty significantly by COVID, and those that received IEL or some of the communication that comes out from the department, we can absolutely appreciate the fact that, look, we tried to send out what we can to let residents know that we were experiencing some delays, and quite frankly, it was at a fever pitch for many of us. So one of the things that we actually did, and then frankly in consultation with the leadership team, they had just great ideas, and that was the engagement of an external resource. We use a company called Ceres Environmental, and they're actually coming out and they're in collaborative partnership, and actually they have a partnership with the Department of Parks and Recreation as well, to help us with the yard trimming pickup and removal and disposal process. So you may have seen some of their vehicles in and throughout the community, helping us try to get some of the stuff up over a set period of time that we've been in this engagement, which is about 3 or 4 months or so. So that has been a huge help, and it's helped us cut down on the amount of time that residents are having and experiencing some delays. So I do want to let you all know that we are trying to leverage some of the private sector relationships with respect to service deliveries, and quite frankly, we're doing it even more. And so we just recognize the space that we are in from a public service perspective, and we know that we can't do it all by ourselves. So the next question, it was the bulk pickup. So describe any changes to the program how to schedule, how long is the delay between making the request for this service and the service actually being delivered. I'll give this, Kanika, I'll give you an opportunity to respond to this particular question because she and her team are responsible, her team of two are responsible for handling this particular operation. So Kanika, I'll turn it over to you.
So to schedule bulk collection, you can do it in a variety of different ways. The easiest is to contact 311. So you can dial 311. If you're in the city, you can call 404-546-311. If you're out of the city, you can go to atl311.com. You can also go to our solid waste website, which is atlantagA.gov/solid waste to schedule your bulk collection that way as well. You can type in your address and schedule your bulk collection. We also experienced some challenges and delays with bulk collection. However, we've also engaged some partners and contractors to assist us with that. That is now something that we're monitoring every 2 weeks to see what the wait time for scheduled bulk collection is. And for your particular area, the first available date is this coming Tuesday, November 3rd. So your wait time is 3 business days, which is down from the beginning of the month, which was 8 business days. So we're looking at that. Our goal is to always have bulk collection picked up within a month, but we're meeting and beating that goal, and we hope to continue doing that. So we look at that and monitor that internally as a team to make sure that you're not waiting more than a month to get scheduled bulk collection. Because if you remember or recall, prior to scheduled bulk collection, you received a collection day once a month. And so we're trying to stick to that, if not go above that.
Great. Thank you, Kanika. And one thing is during this time of COVID, we have experienced a significant amount of trash and debris that residents are calling in. So that too has sort of thrown a wrench in the amount of material that we're having to collect. But our employees are certainly getting after it as best as we possibly can. So we certainly appreciate your efforts, but also recognizing that we are working hard to identify ways in which that we can be much more efficient. And that too is another relationship with Ceres International to help us with the bulk collection, which is something that we're very happy that we were able to engage their services on. And so hopefully residents are noticing improvements, but if there are opportunities that we can improve, we certainly listen, and we certainly want to hear from you. All right. So the next question that we received, and council member, please stop me if I'm taking a little too long. I apologize. So someone saw a street sweeping vehicle that did not have the bristles actually touching the street. Can the department buy, lease, or borrow smaller vehicles to sweep more narrow streets? So I certainly appreciate that observation, and while I can't speak to it, and I spoke to the team about it, I can't speak to what was seen, but there is a need for us to make sure that the types of vehicles that we place are accommodating to the various logistical issues that we may run into in and throughout the city of Atlanta. However, we can buy, lease, or borrow where we keep smaller vehicles, but it's not something that we necessarily explore, but it may be something that we may want to consider. And we have looked at some different ways to deliver services with respect to picking up leaves during leaf season, with some best practices that we've seen in Birmingham and in and throughout the metro area, using leaf trucks to pick up leaves and that sort of thing. So it's something that we've explored, but there is a financial investment that will need to be made. But those are things that we're certainly looking at and considering. So hopefully we'll have more to share of substance the next time this question is asked of us.
Can I add something to that? I remember in summarizing that question, one component part may have been dropped, and that was that cars that are parked on the street are preventing the street sweeping. What can we do to make sure that we maximize the street sweeping opportunity?
Certainly. And Gayla, you and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, so go ahead and answer that.
Right. So we're going to make sure that the employees are out there placing the signs and notifying the residents when we're coming so that they can put those signs out. I know we've had some challenges with attendance, so we haven't had that crew or that extra body to put those signs out, but we're going to make that a priority and make sure that everybody knows when the street sweepers are coming or what exact day they're coming, so that we can make sure that people are aware and move the cars.
Great. Thank you so much, Gayla, for that. And the last question that I have on the list, well, as to how has the department responded to COVID? It's impacted, pretty significantly, but we're doing everything we can to make sure employees are safe. We're issuing face masks 3 times a week. We are implementing our own in-house sanitation and cleaning operation, and we have scheduled shifts differently so that we don't have groups groups sort of gathering all at the same time. But as you all, and as I mentioned previously, it has impacted service delivery, but it looks like we are turning for the better. So hopefully that will continue. And the last question that we have, and it's the money maker, I guess, it's has the new commissioner been selected? And at this point, it has not. We are continuing to go through the recruitment process. Certainly, it is a national recruitment. So for those that are on the call who have colleagues in and throughout the country that are interested and have experience within the public works operation space, that's really interested in engaging in a really invigorating team, invigorating community, please have them certainly connect with us. But a commissioner has not been selected at this point in time. And so, but during this time period, I will continue to serve in this sort of dual capacity. But the fact that we have a very phenomenal leadership team in place right now that's helping us bridge the gap where we can. So, and that is all I have.
Okay. Well, a question that came in during the chat was about if you try 311 and you don't have a good outcome, is there another number or a way that the community can contact someone above 311 or different than 311?
I'll give Rita an opportunity to kind of speak to this. She's been an excellent resource, and she's very resourceful in helping constituents get issues resolved. So Rita, I'll turn that question over to you, which may, I think, be much more fruitful than anything I might be able to provide.
Thank you. So if any constituent does not get a favorable response from 311, actually, when you call 311, you can ask if they would put in the notes that they would like to speak with the supervisor. 311 would then forward it to us, and we'll make sure that the supervisor calls back to the constituent and answers their questions. If you'd like to talk with someone directly, we still have our departmental receptionist who is answering the main phone. So you can always call the front desk number, 404-546-6240.
Say that again.
404-546-6240. The main public works number. And she will forward your information to the person of purview.
Okay.
Additionally, we will make sure that the website is updated with all of our contact information from our emails and our phone numbers.
That's great. All right. And one idea while you were talking, Deputy Chief Johnson, was, I noticed in my neighborhood where the sign is posted saying that street sweeping is happening, it's the same yard. So I've got a relationship with the owner of that yard or working with the community organizations to have volunteers or deputies, sort of public works people to help with that. I think there are a couple of ways to address that might be innovative and different and could be helpful.
Thank you so much. And if you don't mind, I'll certainly reach out to you and maybe we can talk a little bit more and even we'll work through it. So thank you for that.
Awesome, no problem. And thank everyone from Public Works for your comments. I think a nice segue would be to go to ATL-DOT to pick up the ball. Commissioner Rowan, thank you for coming.
That's an excellent transfer. And I'll start with just a quick overview and then dive into the questions I have. I have a report that we generate from the Renew T-SPLOS program on a monthly basis. I was going to try to screen share, but with the connectivity issues I'm having today, that may not be the best idea. I'll I'll email it to anybody who's interested and try to post a link in the chat. But at a high level within District 5, we're approximately 11% complete with construction. We have 27% of our projects in construction, 28% in design, and 34% in planning and development. And so you're gonna see a lot of construction on really fairly significant projects moving in the next couple of years. And I think that's a segue into some of these questions, and I'll just dive right into them if that's all right. The first question was, what is the status of the East Side Trolley Trail? So 1 week ago on 10/22, the team, along with Path Foundation, conducted a final field plan review. There are some comments that are being addressed by the design team, and then Path will begin the permitting process. We expect the procurement to begin in winter of 2021, so it's not that far away, with a construction start likely in summer of 2021. So we're happy that project is moving forward. A note that the team added very, very nearby is the Moorland and Arkwright intersection improvement project. That's actually a GDOT project, and we contacted GDOT, and they gave us permission to post the information for their project manager. And so once I'm done with this, I'll put that in the chat as well. The next question was, is your department responsible for right-of-way maintenance? And I think it was the follow-up that clarifies the question. If so, why are so many intersections overgrown? We're responsible for the hard items, the concrete and the asphalt. The sweeping and the grass cutting are not currently in DOT. So that's I think Justin and the team answered that well, so I won't go too much deeper into that one. The next question was, have you determined the impact that the McPherson roundabout may have on traffic traveling south on Maynard Terrace? And we have looked at that, and then we work closely with GDOT. GDOT held a public open house right at the beginning of the pandemic in April. We've assessed it, and we see no significant impact for southbound Maynard Terrace. The thing to remember, though, is that the access to McPherson onto Maynard will be closed for 4 months, and the exit ramp off of I-20 will be closed for a month. We have some small maps that we could send out, but the best source of information for GDOT project is actually on their project website, and this project is PI number 00133333. So if you're into playing blackjack or anything like that, you've got a fairly, not blackjack poker, you got a fairly decent hand with all those threes in it. This next question is one we get a lot all over town, and I'm going to go into a little more detail than maybe I normally would have, but please provide an update on ways to restrict cement trucks coming from the plant located at the intersection of Glenwood and Bill Kennedy Way. Can that traffic be directed to Boulevard? And the answer is that the trucking company, the concrete company, has the right to use Bill Kennedy Way per City Code Section 150-237. And the code actually requires trucks to use the shortest route from the facility to their destination. And so one thing to remember, because we actually had this question last night and in a Moorland Avenue safety meeting, the thing to remember is that the actual purpose for the state routes is for trucks. They are truck routes. And so that is the state regulated purpose for a state route. So they are for trucks, and trucks will not be moved off of them. And we in fact can't make exceptions keeping them off of those. So the next question, what is the status of Glenwood-Moorland alignment? The Glenwood-Moorland alignment is underway. The project construction began this summer. We're currently installing curbing, ADA ramps, and sidewalks. The project we're projecting right now to be finished in summer of 2021. So about a 1 year long construction process on that one. The next question is actually a comment. The streets and sidewalks around Krog Tunnel need to be made safer and cleaner. We do have one project within Renew, which is a lighting project within the Krog Street Tunnel, and that project is finalizing design. Is there an update on cameras and LPRs, license plate readers along Edgewood and Auburn? And yes, there is. It's a fairly recent update. Our plan was to work with the Atlanta East Foundation, and thanks to the generosity of Councilmember Archibald and her desire to improve the area, use some of her discretionary renew funds to pay for the work. The law department informed us that we actually can't legislate a grant to the Atlanta Police Foundation. So what we're doing instead is we're making this into a renew project. And so we're working with APD to specify the equipment and make the purchase. And once the camera equipment comes in, we will begin the installation. And then it wasn't specifically asked, but I know that it's one of interest. The DeKalb Avenue project, those plans are finalized, and that project is in procurement and will be advertising soon. We're in a blackout period when it comes to talking about the project, and so we take that pretty seriously. But just know that one is in procurement and will be moving soon into construction. And Councilmember Archibald, I think that kind of hits the high point, since I'm not going to risk sharing my screen and locking this whole thing down.
Well, no, that's fine, Commissioner. Thank you. I have a follow-up question, and that is on the McPherson. The comment says it wasn't fully answered. They wanted to know if there is a similar project anywhere else in the city, relative to that roundabout they're proposing at I-20 in McPherson.
Yeah, so GDOT's actually proposing a similar project at Moore's Mill off of I-75, and we support both of them.
So I guess we'll have to, there will be a public engagement opportunity, and I know this is a point of concern for the hundreds of cars that get off at that intersection all the time, not just East Atlanta where it's situated. So this question is one that will, in terms of sharing with the community the benefit and the challenges and the opportunity, I think that's a GDOT, ATL, DOT, maybe combined meeting at some point in the future.
Yes, ma'am. I would relate the process probably to what we went through with the Northside Drive Bridge replacement project that's going on right now in Buckhead. It was a 90-day closure of Northside Drive, which is a pretty significant road closure of that major street. And we actually worked with GDOT and with the community on the messaging and the detour planning. And knock on wood, that's been going quite well so far.
Okay, and I know the video people are going to say, turn on your camera. Okay. Do you have an update on the Arkwright Moorland project at all?
So that was where we wanted to share the project manager information at GDOT, and I'll put that in the chat. Okay. We'll let GDOT speak to their own projects.
Okay, and there will be public engagement on that as well. Commissioner, I just want you to know, and I know you do know how important this particular project is for the community as we connect the East Side Trail over to the Beltline as safely as possible.
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Let's see. The next department, watershed. Ms. Browning.
Good evening. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead. You're doing well.
All right. Awesome. Good evening, Councilmember Archibald and citizens of District 5. I'm Makita Browning. I'm Commissioner of the Department of Watershed Management. I joined the City of Atlanta in 2011 and previously served as the Assistant Commissioner, where I led the daily administrative operations prior to my appointment as Commissioner in October of this year. Here with me on this call this evening are 4 of my Deputy Commissioners. I'll give them an opportunity to introduce themselves, but with me is Mohammed Bala, who's our Deputy Commissioner for the Office of Financial Administration. Also Quentin Fletcher, who's our Deputy Commissioner for the Office of Water Treatment and Reclamation. Karen Boykin, who's our Deputy Commissioner for the Office of Lean Infrastructure and Operations, and Todd Hill, who's our Deputy Commissioner for the Office of Watershed Protection. So I'll start with Mohammed Bala. DC Bala, if you're online.
Hello. Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing this evening? Mohammed Bala, I'm the Deputy Commissioner for the Office of Financial Administration. We oversee the daily financial operations of the utility, including a $620 million operational budget, as well as a $1.2 billion 5-year capital improvement plan. We work closely with the operational arms of the department to make sure that they have what they need to get everything done and accomplished so that we can continue to enjoy the benefits of having one of the best water utilities in the Southeast. We are here to serve the public and serve the citizens and welcome any questions that you guys might have. Please excuse me that I'm not able to log in on a Zoom. I don't have power, so I'm calling in through my cell phone.
Thank you, D.C. Bala. Next up is D.C. Fletcher, if you're on the call.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Fletcher. I'm the Commissioner for the Water Treatment and Reclamation. I am responsible for the management, operation, and maintenance of the City of Atlanta drinking water and waste water facilities. We also ensure that at all times we remain in federal and state compliance.
Thank you for that, D.C. Fletcher. Next up, we have D.C. Boykin.
Good evening, everyone. Darren Boykin. As Commissioner Browning mentioned, I have the Office of Linear Infrastructure Operations. Fancy term, meaning we're the group responsible for the pipelines throughout the city and working our best every day to keep the water in the pipe, whether it's clean drinking water or the water you want to get away from your house and send to our fire treatment plants before we put it back in the environment after it's all clean. You see a lot of our trucks and crews out daily, and we're constantly trying to work, every day to make sure that we provide you tip-top service. So thank you.
Thank you, D.C. Boykin. And last, I have D.C. Hill.
Good evening, everyone. Todd Hill. I'm the Deputy Commissioner for the Office of Watershed Protection. My office is the office over all compliance from your quality of your drinking water, responding to drinking water complaints, on to site development and erosion inspection control inspections, and stormwater is one of our major issues that we respond to also. So we continue to work on building a stronger stormwater program, and my office also does all these stormwater investigations based off your stormwater complaints.
Thank you for that, D.C. Hill. I'll try to hit the highlights and tell you a little bit about Department of Watershed Management. We're a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week operation. We're a trusted regional public utility serving 1.2 million customers each day. Our core services include treatment and delivery of safe drinking water, treatment and collection of wastewater, and management of stormwater in the City of Atlanta. DWM is also currently midway into a $3+ billion Clean Water Atlanta program to address 2 federally mandated consent decrees with compliance requirements and to complete necessary improvements to the city's wastewater infrastructure and facilities. We completed plans for rehabilitation work within District 5 the early part of this year, and that work was completed late spring, probably early summer. We're continuing to make strategic investments and upgrades to our water infrastructure and facilities. And similarly, we're continuing to implement strategic improvements and repairs to the city's stormwater infrastructure that's made possible by the proceeds from the municipal option sales tax. And we're infusing green infrastructure as additional measures to address stormwater drainage issues and enhance water quality. And so I will move forth into the questions received. First question is, describe how your department is operating considering COVID-19. So mid-March, DWM reactivated our Continuity Operations Center due to the coronavirus pandemic. Currently, DWM has a dedicated workforce of over 1,400 employees. We have non-mission critical employees who've been designated to telework, and that's comprised of about 500 plus employees. We've provided the necessary resources and tools for them to continue to effectively carry out their work functions from home. That includes laptops, mobile phones, and internet devices. We utilize Microsoft Teams and the Zoom platform as well for virtual meetings. In addition to that, we have mission-critical personnel who are working during hazardous or emergency conditions to maintain critical city functions and services, and that That's comprised of about 900 plus employees. And some of those functions include, which my GCs kind of hinted on, for the Office of Water Treatment and Reclamation, that's the drinking water treatment plant operations, and our remote facilities for office linear infrastructure, that's water main breaks and emergency sewer repairs, and street restorations or private property restorations if impacted. And then our safety and security and emergency management team, they maintain, they want to ensure that we maintain safe work sites and facility safety and respond to any emergency matters. In addition, we provided a multitude of PPE to mission-critical staff. That includes masks, disinfectants, face shields, safety glasses and goggles, gloves and Tyvek suits. We also conduct non-invasive temperature screenings at all of our DWM facilities each day. We are providing free COVID-19 testing to all employees. And we've also implemented extensive deep cleanings for all of our facilities just to ensure cleanliness and ensure a clean and safe work environment for our workers. The second question is, describe ways you have improved the emergency notification system. The situation on Douglas Street may be intrusive on the kinds of follow-up that needs to happen following an event. How can constituents keep up to date on boil water and other alerts? So as part of our emergency action plan, we have implemented additional protocols and processes to enhance our communications and outreach efforts. This includes timely notification through all of our communications platforms. As you know, we have our website, which is atlantawatershed.org, and then you have atlantagA.gov, which is the major website hub for the city of Atlanta. You can also follow us on social media. We have Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages at Atlanta Watershed. We utilize robocalls via Notify Atlanta. You can sign up for Notify Atlanta at www.atl311.com to receive real-time updates to your home, mobile, or business phone by text and voice. And then the department has a newsletter, and you can subscribe to that newsletter at atlantawatershed.org/newsletters and click to subscribe to our customer newsletter link. And for those customers that are not electronically connected, we engage the neighborhood via door hangers and the MPU. The next question is give a brief overview of the Adopt a Drain program and any other initiatives that the neighbors may be able to support. So our Adopt a Drain program encourages volunteers to adopt a storm drain in or near their neighborhoods and commit to cleaning the drain of leaves and other debris. The volunteers monitor the condition of the drains for the duration of the adoption. Volunteers will receive training and a storm drain cleaning supply kit, which is comprised of gloves, broom, rake, trash or yard waste bags, safety vests, and safety glasses. To find more out about that program, you can go to atlantawatershed.org /adopt a drain. And or you can contact us. We have a point of contact, Tanisha Lawson. To reach her, her number is 44546-1411. We can provide that information after the call of this meeting. The next question is there anything your department can do to relieve flooding that happens at the Frog Street Tunnel every time there is a rain event? Should your department work with ATL DOT to address this kind of situation? And so the Frog Tunnel is a priority project. It's going to be a most funded stormwater project. We performed cleaning and CCTV investigation within the location, but we recognize that it didn't resolve the problems and the issues there concerning drainage. And so we plan to start design once we have our new AE contracts on board the early part of next year, 2021. And so the project will address flooding in the tunnel that blocks access during heavy rain. And we will most certainly coordinate with ATL DOT as necessary. But as we gear up for that design work and hope to implement a project in preparation for heavy rain events, we're having our DWM crews to work to ensure that the storm catch basins and inlet structures are open and free and clear of debris within the vicinity of that location. Crews continue to monitor flood-prone areas during the event. Staff will continue to secure all work sites and confirm all remote monitoring stations and cameras and et cetera are operational. So we're going to continue to monitor that location until we can get the design efforts underway. The next question is, if a constituent has a concern about low water pressure, what can your department do about this? So low water pressure may be the result of problems with plumbing, or it may be a result from a problem in a pipeline serving your area. And so if you have low water pressure, there may be debris in your pipes, closed water valves, or a leak. And so if you encounter that, you should contact APL 311-44546-0311, and we'll dispatch one of our specialists to investigate the problem within 24 hours. And then testing or repairs may be needed, and those repairs could take up to 14 days to fully resolve the issue. The next question is, if a customer has a problem paying their water bill, what programs are available to help? We offer bill payment assistance through our Care and Conserve program to those that qualify. To qualify for Care and Conserve, you must receive a water bill directly from the City of Atlanta. You're required to currently live on the property for which assistance is requested. Your water service is legally on and the account is active. Your residents must meet structural, water size, and residential qualifications. Residents must meet an income eligibility requirement defined. Renters are required to provide the mailing and contact information for the landlord of the property. And the account must have gone through 6 billing cycles and have a past due amount of $300 or more at the time of the application. So customers are required to file an application and apply to be considered, and also be able to provide verification documents as well. So to find more out about that, you should go to atlantawatershed.org/care-and-conserve. You can also download the application on the website, and you can mail the application back to us, and I can provide that information as well. I'd just also like to note that the Care and Conserve program is funded through voluntary customer contributions, corporate donations, grants, and money set aside by the City of Atlanta. And the last question is, please provide an update on pending most funding projects that are in District 5 neighborhoods. So thus far, we have 16 most projects that were scheduled for implementation within District 5. Of the 16, 9 projects have been completed to date. We have 6 projects that are in design phase, and we have 1 project that is in planning phase. And I'll ask my Deputy Commissioner, Todd Hill, to opine and share any additional information or insights on the most projects.
On the most projects, one other thing that we have are the what we call our stormwater asset management projects also, that where we actually go out based on complaints and actually do an investigation and a cleaning. And those we have 4 that we have right now throughout the area that we have been working on. The project that's about to go under construction is 42 Oak Ridge Avenue. This is putting in some additional storm lines and replacing some storm lines, and actually putting in green infrastructure also, mainly tree planters along the street. There's another one that's in design all along Warren Street. This is where we're actually rerouting the storm line to be in the right-of-way. The current storm line runs under people's homes on one portion of that area, and it's an older line, and we're rerouting it. As we move forward in planning, all our plan projects are based off of complaints that we've received or from our investigations over time where we have actually observed problems, because during every storm event, we have teams that go out and actually observe the rainfall throughout the area and respond to any flooding that they notice while they're out. And so these are ones at the Krog Tunnel, and then ones at Boulevard, 242 Boulevard, where there's some intersection flooding in that area. And then 417 Lakeshore Drive, where there's a local flooding complaint that is localized in that area. And then 220 Mason Avenue Northeast. And that's to address property flooding in the area due to inadequate infrastructure. And that's where we're going to upgrade our infrastructure. As we move forward with our most projects, when we do our investigations, we look at the impact on the area based on the complaint and the amount of flooding, and we put them through a prioritization process. First things, items that are going to cause loss of life, potential cause loss of life or property, and then we rate it down. And on all these projects, we work hard to have community involvement on what we're working on, and we always work with the local community in the area.
Great, thank you for that, D.C. Hill. And I wanted to make mention to a few more projects that are on the horizon that are within District 5 from our improvements for our water infrastructure, and I'll let Deputy Commissioner Boykin speak to a project that's on the horizon within the vicinity of LaFrance Street. D.C. Boykin, you want to talk a little bit about that project that's coming up?
Sure, thank you. We do planned water main replacement project on LaFrance Street near Mason Avenue that is planned to start in the next several weeks. I believe the start date is November 9th. This project is to replace a old 2-inch water main that is basically beyond its useful life. It's time to upgrade that water main. That main has undergone a number of leaks. Just had a recent main break on that street, or a series of main breaks. So when we have these types of instances, we fast track projects to go ahead and replace this whole infrastructure, upgrade the infrastructure as necessary to meet the needs of the community in the area. So that project will go on again starting November 9th, lasts for approximately 4 weeks, and we'll be done. Our goal is to be done before the Christmas holidays, and certainly we'll make sure we're out of the way for the Thanksgiving holiday.
Thank you for that, D.C. Boykin. And then lastly, I want to touch on our Office of Water Treatment and Reclamation. We have a major project proposed at our Entrenchment Creek WRC facility that's located off of Key Road. D.C. Fletcher, would you like to talk a little bit about that project that's upcoming?
Sure, Commissioner. Thank you. The Entrenchment Creek is our oldest water reclamation facility. It was built in 1910. We will decommission the facility. We will put in a new influent and effluent pumping station to pump the waste over to the South River WRC. We also will include odor control units during the decommissioning process.
All right, thank you for that, D.C. Fletcher. There was one more question that came through. The question says, I'm in the process of renovating 395 Edgewood Avenue, and after in-depth investigation and survey, I've been notified that access from building to sewer line has been closed off on the building of the streetcar. I'm at a loss as to how to get a line back to sewage. Desperate need help and advice as to how I can reconnect the building to the sewage line. So if your service line was inadvertently abandoned or cut off from the main line as a result of the streetcar and it was done in error, we, the city, will take care of that. I have your contact information, and so I'll make sure a staff member gets in contact with you on tomorrow. That is Ms. Yavari. So we will get in contact with you, Mr. Yavari, on tomorrow and with the necessary resources to reinstate your service for that property on Edgewood Avenue. Councilmember Archibald, that completes my brief and
Thank you.
Answers to the questions received.
I appreciate that, and that's Varjon. Her name is Ms. Varjon, and so I appreciate your following up with her. And I just want to say thank you so much for
continuing to improve the notification process, boil water advisories, getting it out on Nextdoor, making sure that there's real-time communication with council members and neighborhood leaders. So please continue to develop ways to help with emergency situation notification. I appreciate the work you've done, but it is an area that we're all concerned about, making sure we don't make unsafe water or use unsafe.
Absolutely, and understood.
All right, thanks. Next, yes, who is that?
This is Justin Johnson from Public Works. I had a quick question. Antoinette Govin, our Director of Communication, it kind of overlaps Watershed as well. She just had a quick announcement that she wanted to share today. Yeah, Antoinette, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Justin. Good evening, everyone. My name is Antoinette Govin. I am the Director of Communications from the Department of Public Works, and I was just reassigned to the department in June. I say reassigned because I actually started my career with the Department of Public Works as their Public Information Officer, so I'm excited to be back. But what I wanted to emphasize and encourage, one of my priorities for the department is to create and implement more efficient ways to communicate our customers, and we can do that on operations talk there to
your connection isn't great.
But we need to create all the same. Talked about collections, a platform we call Reclamation. I'm sorry?
Yeah, but it wasn't coming through.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. What I was saying was earlier, our executive director of Keep It Atlanta Beautiful, Kanika Greenlee, spoke about a platform we have called Recollect, where you can go in and schedule your bulk collections. If citizens would use that to go in and just sign up in general, we could use that platform as a way to communicate to citizens when we have possible delays or there are issues in particular quadrants or areas. And so I want to encourage everyone. I know that 311 is our main customer service platform for the city, but this instrument would be a great help for the Department of Public Works in increasing our ability to communicate to our customers directly. Again, you can find that on atlantagA.gov/recycling or solid waste. So it's on the Department of Public Works.
Put it in the chat. Yeah, put it in the chat. Can you type it in the chat?
I certainly will, Council Member. And also, we also use Notify ATL. I know that a lot of customers do not, they think you get too many messages with that platform, but there's also a way that we can use that where we can segment the audience that we want to communicate to. So we would encourage everyone to also sign up for those platforms as well. We really need the customers, the citizens, to give us their information so we can communicate with you in more effective ways. We are also on social media, on Instagram and Twitter. It's at ATL Public Works, and I'll put that in the chat. And on Facebook, we are Atlanta Public Works. So again, I just encourage all of the citizens to please sign up in this process, Respect and by ATL, to help create a space where we can communicate better with our customers.
Well, thank you very much. We got most of that, but putting it in the chat will be good. We've got planning and parks. I'm going to let parks go because planning's going to suck up all the oxygen out of the room, I'm sure. But quick question, how should people put their cans out on the curb? This is an interesting question. Should the handle be facing the curb? Should the handle be facing the home or the driveway or sidewalk? Is there a right or wrong way to put your receptacles on the street? This is a Public Works. Gayla?
So, Councilwoman, this is Justin.
Oh, Justin.
So there isn't necessarily a right or wrong way. I know it certainly helps for the individuals picking up the can to just kind of walk up, grab the can, and roll it. You try to emphasize don't work backwards, so roll it and push it forward. And so there isn't a right or wrong, but if the handles are facing the street, that will help us, just from an efficiency standpoint, just kind of keep things moving. But no right or wrong as long as it's in the place. So.
And it will help us if they would close the lid, especially if it looks like rain. Anyway, I know it's a lot of moving pieces. Thank you so much, Deputy Commissioner. Ms. LaShondra Burks from Parks, thank you.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, Councilmember Archibong, and to all the residents of District 5. I, too, am still without power, so I've tried to improve my lighting a little bit, but I apologize if that it's not. Doug Voss, Director of Parks, was scheduled to join me this evening, but he is currently with our forestry team debriefing, as we had 250 trees at our last countdown in Atlanta's right-of-ways as a result of last night or early this morning's storm. But I will give you our updates, and I think that my updates will answer the majority of the questions submitted, and I think there'll be one other one that we may not be able to, that I'll have to come back and answer. But just to give you an update of kind of what's going on in our recreation centers. In our recreation centers, we are providing hot meals on the go for dinner to use at various recreation centers, right at about 16 of them right now. Our golf courses are open. Our clubhouses are not, but you can play golf. You have to reserve online and pay online for golf at this particular time. Our outdoor tennis courts, of course, are open. We have received calls from a number of you for a lot of tennis lessons that are going on in the outdoor courts at this time and how packed they have been. Our tennis centers are also operational. We are currently doing singles and doubles at our tennis centers right now. All 5 of them are open, and we will be moving to working on doing some tennis lessons soon. So hopefully the relief that you're seeing at your outdoor tennis court with a lot of the tennis pros will be able to transition back to our tennis centers. Our indoor pools are also open. ML King is crowded every day, all day. You can swim, lap lane swim only, by appointment only, between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. We are also running small learning pods at 17 of our recreation centers for youth who are in Atlanta Public Schools, 7:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And we have also partnered with Atlanta Public Schools to provide breakfast and lunch for those youth. And we have certified tutors on hand. The ratio is 1 to 5. We have enrollment heavy at Bessie, Brandon Recreation Center, Cohen Recreation Center, as well as ML King. There was another question for us specifically around permits. And so based on the mayor's executive order, at this time, we are not able to do permits in parks, nor at our recreation centers. And I know that there was also a question that in the parks, when there is a lot of trash out, the people who have had events that are not permitted, kind of what happens. So I want to give you just a report on how we are running our parks division now. We have seen a huge increase in the usage of our parks as a result of people just kind of wanting to be out of the house during COVID. So we are seeing a huge increase. We are on a 10-day mowing cycle, and we are still doing a 5-day garbage pickup in the parks for 5 days. And I know that it gets trashy a lot on the weekends, but we're working hard to keep as much of the parks clean as we possibly can. Also, Cohen Recreation Center, thanks to Councilmember Archibong, this year is being used as an early voting precinct, specifically for residents in DeKalb County. Lastly, we are not quite lastly, but we are also working on our comprehensive 10-year Parks and Recreation Master Plan. A lot of residents in District 5 participated in one of our or several of our 12 virtual meetings. So we had right at 5,328 participants over the course of those 12 virtual meetings. And within the next couple of months, we're finalizing some of our input and hope to have this before City Council within the next few months. There was one last question, Councilmember Archibong, that was submitted around how do we stop large gatherings in our parks. We continue to work closely with the Atlanta Police Department when we are made aware that there are non-permitted activities going on in our parks. But of course, sometimes we don't catch them all. If we see flyers, we work with APD and get those flyers to APD. And they work with us to contact the promoters to try to make sure that the event does not happen. But sometimes they get going in our parks and we don't know it until we see the signs of it being over. And at that time, that kind of concludes my update and answers the questions that were submitted for Parks and Recreation. But I'll take additional questions. I don't see any in the chat at this time. But if I can answer additional questions, I will.
All right. Thank you so much for being such a trooper in the face of the power outage. That really means a lot. So if any other questions come in, I will let you know. Please stand by. And without further ado, we will have our representative from the Department of Planning. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. Good evening, Councilmember Archibong and members, residents of District 5. My name is Kieta Holmes. I am the Director of the Office of Zoning and Development in the Department of City Planning, and I bring you greetings on behalf of our Commissioner, Commissioner Tim Keene, and our Deputy Commissioner, Janity Sitterful. Commissioner Keene unfortunately could not be here this evening, so he asked I extend his regrets. He had a conflicting meeting tonight and had to be there. I am going to go through the questions that were provided to me by Councilmember Archibong's office, and then we'll answer any additional questions should they come up. First question is with regard to virtual meetings. The boards and commissions stopped meeting in March of this year. Meetings resumed on a virtual platform in August of this year, and we have been having our meetings on a consistent schedule as posted on our website since August. We were able to move through all of our cases that were backlogged from March through July and had all those applications heard in August, and we're back on our regular schedule in September. The BZA meets at 12 noon on the first and second Thursdays of every month, and the ZRB meets on the first and second Thursdays of every month at 6 p.m. All of our agendas are posted on our website, the Office of Zoning and Development, under the zoning page, and you'll find the agendas for BZA and ZRB. The Zoom information is listed at the top of those agendas, as well as the postcards that go out to all of the affected neighbors. The Zoom information is listed there, as well as is listed on the Atlanta City Council's webpage. The Zoom information does not change. It is the same meeting information from meeting to meeting. However, we do require that you register for each meeting so that it's a part of the work plan that was presented and approved to the law department. All 25 MPUs are meeting presently via Zoom or some platform, some virtual platform. They have all been meeting since about May or June of this year, and are doing it on their regular schedule. Some of them are about to start taking breaks as they regularly do in the regular course of their year, but they've had elections on the virtual platform. They've done bylaws on the virtual platform and are all meeting on a virtual platform. Should you need information with regard to when the MPU meets or need their information, it is also posted under the Office of Zoning and Development under the MPU page. And there you will find all of the agenda information as well as the connection information for each of those meetings. And most of those meetings require that you also register as well. Next, with regard to the intersection of Boulder Crest and Flat Shoals, that property is zoned C1, which is the neighborhood commercial district, and it has a low-density commercial land use. It has been that way for quite some time. It does not have any conditions on it or any other encumbrances, and so anyone who owns that property may develop anything on that property that is allowed in the C1 district. Unfortunately, the persons who own the property are developing townhomes, and there is no requirement for them to provide retail at that location or any other non-residential use. While the C1 district allows that to happen, there is no requirement as a part of the zoning requirement that makes a developer put in non-residential or retail uses as a part of their development. Most often we've heard cited that a number of people are shying away from non-residential uses because of the number of non-residential storefronts that we have that sit empty here in the city. The next thing is regard to the MPU decisions being ignored with regard to final zoning decisions. Information that is received from the MPUs or neighborhoods that is either sent to myself as secretary to the Board of Zoning Review or to the Board of Zoning Adjustment is provided to all members of BZA as well as all members of the Zoning Review Board. That information is sent to them a week prior to the actual hearing, as well as it is mentioned and noted at the briefings of each one of those boards. Before the board members at the time that they are making their decision is the information from the MPU and the staff recommendation. As a part of the staff recommendation, we do not wholesale accept all of these conditions that are presented by an MPU. Oftentimes, there are things that are more suited for a private agreement between the neighborhood association or the MPU and that developer. We found that adding conditions that are more suited for private agreements have delayed development. Most notably with regard to trees and encumbering the arborist department to put in a certain type of tree. If that tree is not available when the tree is not available at the time the development is finalized, or it's not that planting season, or whatever the circumstance may be, because it is a zoning condition, then that that developer would have to go back to the full rezoning process to remove that condition. In addition to that, from the staff level, we do not want to encumber any other department, watershed, office of buildings, Department of Parks. We don't want to encumber any other department with a condition that they are not aware of or that they may not be able to meet. And then at that time, we realize that developer can't meet it. It can't be met by the department that was encumbered. And so that developer has to go through the full rezoning process again to remove a condition. If the MPU, knowing the MPU has conditions that they want to make a part of a zoning decision, we have been recommending at the BZA and the VRB level that neighborhood representatives or MPU representatives attend those hearings and make it known the reasons why, in addition to what you provide in writing, make it known as to why those conditions need to be a part of the zoning decision that is recommended from VRB or as a part of the condition from BZA. The next question is regard to city planners attending MPU meetings. All planners have been required and told they must attend an MPU meeting. The MPU planners for this area have not changed. For MPU W, it is Christian Oltianu. For MPU O, it is Raquel Jackson. For MPU M, it is Matt Adams. And for MPU N, it's Kimberly Sargent. There have been times where planners cannot attend, but they have also been instructed to notify or get another planner to come to the meeting in their stead if they cannot attend. If you find that your planner is consistently not coming to meetings, I will put their information in the chat for you to contact the directors of each of the offices in which they work. For Christian Oltianu and for Raquel Jackson, that would be myself, and for Kimberly Sargent and for Matt Adams, that would be Kevin Bacon with the Office of Design. In addition to that, you will also need to notify Ms. Leah LaRue, who is the Assistant Director of the MPU. The next question is regarding to text amendments that are presented to the MPU and providing an executive summary with the legislation. For each piece of legislation that comes from, that is a text amendment or a citywide amendment or a new creation of a district, comes with a fact sheet as well as the ordinance and any other pertinent information that has been provided. Prior to the planner coming to your meeting, we have a briefing with that planner, with the planners as a group, we go over the fact sheet as well as the ordinance and answer any and all questions that we anticipate may come up during the discussion, as well as when that information is forwarded to the MPU, it is forwarded to the planner at the same time, so everyone receives the same information at the same time and has the opportunity to answer any questions. So if your planner is not summarizing the information and not conveying the information that they were given, you should also make us aware of that so that we can correct that. The last question is with regard to the zoning rewrite. The notice to proceed was just provided to the contractor who will be assisting with the rewrite of the ordinance. And it is scheduled to take between 3 to 5 years for the rewrite to be completed. And a lot of people ask, why will it take that long? We are taking about 2,000 sheets of regulations and opening it up and effectively rewriting that entire code. And so it will take a number of years to rewrite it effectively so that it will serve the residents of the city of Atlanta. And are there any other questions that I may answer?
Okay, let's see. Thank you very much for that. I think that was good. I'm looking through the questions that have come in. We've gotten a number of, for all participants, thank you very much for that overview. We've gotten a number of questions that have come in that relate to, it appears to public works, more about street sweeping. Had a question, can it be scheduled? Another question involved whether or not the street sweeping equipment has magnets. There's been so much development and screws and nails have fallen into the street. So who from Public Works can talk to us about these questions?
So those are this is Justin Johnson. So those questions I'll have to get back to the community on and provide some additional information because I don't have it with me at this time, but I'll be sure to turn that around relatively quickly.
Okay. And from Ms. Greenlee in the chat, confirmation that glass is in fact being recycling. Make sure that you put that in your blue bin. Had some concerns. This would be for ATL DOT about the general condition of sidewalks and what we are able to do to improve those conditions. We need a sidewalk program from this one participant, such as a SPLOS dedicated exclusively for sidewalks. I don't think that's a bad idea.
No, I'm sorry. I was going to jump in on that, council member. No disagreement from me. In fact, our last update to Transportation Committee focused heavily on sidewalks. We're going to come back in December and talk about sidewalks more. And then on December 9th, we're going to be at 5 p.m. be having a work session to talk about how to pay for sidewalks. And just at a high level, because I know we're short on time, we estimate the need for both new sidewalks as well as sidewalk repair to be on the order of $800 million. So we have a tall order ahead of us, but we're going to be talking about sidewalks for the next several months.
That's very good news. Thank you for that, Commissioner. We'll alert the public to when those public engagement opportunities are available. I'm trying to see if I missed any other questions. My dog is with me because I had promised him that we would be done at 8. And so he's like, what is going on? So I'm letting him see what's going on. I think we talked about the street sweeping question. And all right, I think we've addressed all of the questions. And if neighbors, if you have any additional questions, please forward them to me and I will forward it to the respective departments of purview. We are recording this, as I said at the beginning, and I'm going to push that out as soon as from the communications office we are able to have it in the correct format. So with that said, we're a little bit over our time limit. I want to thank everybody for their participation, the panelists, as well as the neighbors. One question that came in is, would we do this again? I think it was a great format. I would love to do that, and I would hope that the panelists would be willing to do that as well, maybe at the beginning of the year to see where we are post, hopefully, COVID-19. So thank you, everybody. Any unreadiness or questions from any of the panelists? Any updates? Anything we overlooked? Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a safe evening. Oh, I did hear from Georgia Power that they are working aggressively to get the power restored, that they are expecting volunteers or crews to be coming in from Valdosta and around the state. They did not think it would be a quick fix. They thought it might take as long as through tomorrow evening. So stay strong, but they are working as fast as they can to get the power restored. So thank you all very, very much. Until next time, have a good evening.
Good night.
Good night.